On Christmas Day in the year 496, following the Battle of Tolbach, where Clovis, king of the Franks, first called on the name of Christ, he affirmed the Nicene Creed and received the Trinitarian baptism by the Bishop of Reims. 3,000 of his warriors were baptized with him that day, and the Franks, the most pivotal of the Germanic tribes, began to be Christianized. Like Constantine before him, the conversion of Clovis to the Christian faith affected more than his own salvation. His country and his countrymen would follow his leadership, and a few centuries later, in the year 800, his descendant, Charlemagne the Great, would be crowned Holy Roman Emperor in remembrance of his forebear and in honor and reverence of the King of all kings on Christmas Day. With the crowning of Charlemagne, a tradition was founded which many Christian kingdoms would honor for centuries to come, the Christmas Day Coronation of Kings. This tradition of Christmas coronations began with Charlemagne in 800 AD and continued all the way up to King Charles IV, the last king of Hungary, in 1916. Notable rulers coronated on Christmas Day during that span of time include William the Conqueror in the year 1066, following the Battle of Hastings and the Norman conquest of England, Baldwin I of Bouillon, the younger brother of Godfrey of Bouillon, in the year 1100 following the First Crusade, Stephen I, king of Hungary, in the year 1000, as the nation of Hungary was brought into the Christian civilized world, and Henry I, king of England, in the year 1100. All of these kings had their earthly temporal rule established on the anniversary date of Jesus Christ entering the world, robed in human flesh to establish his cosmic, everlasting kingdom. Even the recorded years of their rule commemorate and find their origin in Christ's incarnation. Why did these Christian rulers decide to establish their thrones on the day of Christ's birth? What was the point behind this? By their Christmas Day coronations, these kings honored the birth of the new covenant kingship of Christ. They lent reverence to his all-encompassing authority and rule as they sought to rule their kingdoms in obedience to him and his bride, the church. In many of these cases, like with Charlemagne, these coronations marked not just a new king, but a new empire or nation, and therefore it was just and right that these new kingdoms would find their origin in a way and time that honors the kingdom of heaven, finding its first foothold here on earth. As Christian history attests, Christmas is a time of the founding of kingdoms. On this day, kings are crowned, on this day, dominion is declared, and on this day, wars commence. Christmas is a celebration of the beginning of the enemy's end. The greeting, Merry Christmas, therefore, is a statement of war, and every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is King of kings, Lord of lords, and that all rule, power, authority, and dominion belong to him alone. With that said, Merry Christmas, and welcome to the Hard Men Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to the Hard Men Podcast. My name is Tate Taylor. I'm joined, as usual, by Pastor Ethan Sin. How you doing?
Great. Happy to be here. Excited for the Christmas break coming up.
Yeah.
You know?
It'll be here in, what, a couple days?
Well, yeah, for us, we have one more day of school tomorrow and then nice long break through the new year. So really looking forward to that time.
Evan's in the room as well. We were just joking a minute ago that Martin is really excited for everyone else not to be here so that he can work while not distracted.
Yeah.
That's his idea of vacation.
Just more work.
Just more work, but without people.
Quality time working by himself.
Quality work time. But yeah, I'm excited too. It's going to be good. I don't want to say it's going to be boring. Like there's going to be a lot going on. It'll just look different than the normal schedule. But
yeah, I think there's plenty of events and different stuff to do. Right. Yeah. I mean, even for me, like we have tons of projects, house projects, stuff I want to do around the house. So it would be nice to have some time off to take care of that stuff. But Christmas parties, different events, but yeah, just nice change of pace, not the normal schedule.
Awesome. Yeah. So I did want to ask you, we talked briefly about the subject of that cold open with like this divine right of kings and the coronation on Christmas Day thing, but is that something that you had heard of before?
No. I mean, until you sent me that idea for the cold open, I had never heard of that before.
So super interesting. Not something that I had really done any research on before this episode either, but I was kind of looking for something similar to that, and that ended up working perfect for kind of like the theme of this show, which will kind of be like Christmas is warfare, basically, especially the joyfulness of it. But I had never heard of that particular practice, I guess, of kings being coronated on Christmas Day in honor of Christ's birth. And I came down and I was talking to Ben about it yesterday, and he brought up the portion about Clovis, who is the ancestor of Charlemagne. And that particular story is really, really interesting. It's something that we could probably come back to at some point. But he was a pagan Germanic king, king of the Franks. He had conquered a bunch of smaller tribes and sort of created a nation. But his wife was Christian, and she was an oddball at that time because most of the Germanic peoples that had converted to Christianity were Arminian. And so the Roman Catholic Church didn't recognize them. They were at odds. And she was Trinitarian. And so she was a more Orthodox Christian, and she actually is the one that sort of leads him to faith. He fights her over it for a long time, but then there's a battle, the Battle of Tolbach, where he's basically in the throes of being defeated and calls on the name of Christ.
What year is this?
This is the late 400s. So the exact date of his baptism is somewhat contested. The consensus view is 496. Some people say it could be 498 or maybe like 502, somewhere in there. But the consensus view is 496.
And what was he being converted out of?
Just paganism.
Yeah,
it was sort of like a combination of older Germanic paganism and then the new Roman like pantheon of gods. So he was known for just basically giving his allegiance to whoever would answer his prayers until that point in his life, and then converts to Christianity, confirms the Nicene Creed, and then lives another, I want to say it's around 18, 20 years of his life as a Christian, and a Christian king. So really, really interesting story. And I think when Charlemagne was going into his coronation, where you basically have the Franks and the Roman Catholic Church joining forces and making him the Holy Roman Emperor, he was almost kind of like referring back to his ancestors' insistence on honoring the day of Christmas as the birth of a nation, a birth of an empire, with Christ's kingdom coming into the world. So it was just really interesting symbolism in the way that those things work out in church history that I had just never been taught, not things that I had ever heard before.
No, and when you mentioned it, I thought maybe we were talking about like not that long ago, 500-600 years, but this is way back.
Way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like I don't think there are any instances of it prior to Charlemagne. Charlemagne starts a lot of things, but after that, I think partly because so many kings and rulers wanted to emulate Charlemagne, they did things the way that he did them. And then so they sort of followed along in his footsteps. But especially in instances like Hungary becoming a Christian nation, the first king of Hungary is coronated on Christmas Day, not just to, honor Charlemagne, but also Christ. And so just super interesting stuff. It's definitely worth looking into kind of the legacy of that happening through Christian rulers over the course of church history. But the reason I brought it up, and I thought it was a cool story and something to kind of tag onto this, is because this time of year has in our modern time gotten so kind of soft. I don't want to say that as like it's always a negative. Like it's good to have warmth and joy and a certain sense of rest this time of year, but it also sort of gets real light and we don't recognize the heaviness of the season.
Like not that serious.
Right.
Kind
exactly.
of like everything's kind of,
it loses its reverence.
Yeah. There's a joviality, which is a good thing, but almost to dissipation where it's not taken seriously or like you said, reverent, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the weight of the season sort of gets lost. And looking back at our forefathers and seeing the way that they honored the day, you can tell that they took it very seriously.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of that comes down to how we treat everything is about me and what I'm getting and what presents and Elf on the Shelf and Santa Claus and things like that, where it becomes very navel gazing. And that's probably part of it too, is it's all about me and not about what are we celebrating? Who are we celebrating? Why?
Even the Christian response to that, which is this sort of, it's become very cliche of Jesus is the reason for the season. And it even that has become very frivolous. It doesn't carry the weight that it should, even though the words are true. It doesn't lend the reverence to the celebration that it really should.
Yeah, these things become catchphrases like "What would Jesus do?" Like it's a true thing, but then when you print it on a bracelet and everybody wears it, whether they're a Christian or not a Christian, or it becomes a fashion statement, it loses its meaning and it's just kind of like taken for granted and moved on.
Right. Exactly. I think being able to look back in history and see some of the examples of the way that these things were taken seriously and with reverence is really useful in how we view the season ourselves going into it. And I think that's really what we kind of want to exhort people with is like, this is a really important time. This is not a time just to, sit around and eat cookies and like watch football or whatever. It's a very serious time, but it can be deceiving because we don't want to be self-serious about it, where we constantly are stomping the joy. And we don't want our kids running around and being loud in the house because this is about Christmas. You're not trying to stamp everything out. It needs to be joyful, but it does need to be taken. Those things can be held in both hands at the same time without letting either one drop.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough balance, but I think that's something that's worth striving for. And I think men in particular can get a little bit Scrooge-ish around this time of year, especially as, like down the stretch, like we're getting close to the end of the season and there's another thing to go celebrate or another, gathering to go be a part of and people get a little bit worn out.
You can get worn out for sure. And I think that there is an important balance, right?
For sure.
You could have a party every night of the week and it's, and they're great, but at the same time, there does need to be it's kind of a marathon where you need to have enough things that it's significant and it's fun and joyful and we're having a good time. But at the same time, we don't want to just block out every hour of every day and then you just never breathe and never actually rest and never rejuvenate. And that can be, really tiresome. You feel like you get back from Christmas and now I need a vacation.
Right. Yeah. You also don't want to be like, what this looks like, fight, like waging the war of Christmas. Also doesn't look like just seeing how full you can get your schedule and then going and checking all those boxes, but not really, you're almost like absent for all of them just to say that you got it done. Mm-hmm. You want to be intentional with this stuff. So once again, there's a balance there.
And it depends on, your season and your context. Like there are people that need to say yes to more engagements and say, hey, maybe we should have people in our home and have a little party and get together. And then there are people that maybe, like our community is like this, where you have to be able to say no. Mm-hmm. If you went to everything you were ever invited to, there's not enough days in the week.
Yeah, you would be double booked every night. So yeah, once again, finding the balance. But another thing that I wanted to talk about here, and we've touched on it already a little bit, is kind of this joyful warrior ethic. And I think we should kind of view this time as a heightened state of spiritual warfare. Part of the fight is grinning and singing and giving gifts in a way that causes the forces of hell to tremble and despair. But all of that is done in joy, right? It's done with mirth. It's a time to be aggressively joyful. And I think for men, it's seeing this as a conflict and not as this is not a peacetime activity. This is actually part of the fight is actually really important. On top of that, you then have to clarify how exactly do we fight? But I think first and foremost, understanding that this is actually a heightened state of the spiritual warfare we're in. This is a time that Satan hates, that the forces of evil hate. And this is a time that is worth celebrating if you're a part of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, and I think recognizing it and framing it that way, you can be on guard against those attacks where it never goes perfectly. It's never a Hallmark movie. There's still kids have discipline, right? You still have, just the works of the flesh and all these things still happen. It's not like you get a break from the normal warfare, spiritual warfare, world, flesh, devil. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But I think recognizing that you're actually especially vulnerable during this time period and being on guard against that can maybe help prevent the temptation of giving into the flesh and getting bitter or getting jealous or getting envious or quick to anger in that time period where that's all the enemy wants you to do.
Yeah.
Right? They want to ruin the day. They want to ruin the season. They want it to be oh yeah, you want to celebrate the birth of your Savior? Let me show you how much you're going to sin.
Yeah.
You know, and just being on guard against that.
I think the point about letting discipline slip is really big too, because there is the tendency, and I don't think this is always bad, of like, well, yeah, we're going to have dessert again tonight because it's Christmas. And like, go for it. Great. But it can be tempting to sort of let things fully slide. And then one slip in discipline in this particular category works its way into another category, and pretty soon you're dealing with things that have been, dead and conquered for some time now, just because you let something slip and then just completely let it go. And like, there's no brakes on the machine anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I think kind of being on guard for that, maintaining a certain level of like discipline about some things is actually a really, really good time. And maybe even a time to kind of double down on that. Your Bible reading, prayer, even like for me, like daily workouts. This is the kind of year where every single evening is going to be booked for something. And I could just rely on the, like it's probably just not going to happen this week at all.
We'll get back to it in January.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like guarding against that temptation is really important.
Yeah. Thinking through those things now. Hey, if I'm off for a week or certain days, like how does the routine change?
Right.
It's not going to be the same. You don't have to get up at the same time, but how do these things not fall out? And you look back after Christmas and the new year and you're like, where did the time go? What did I accomplish? And
then you kind of start the new year in a deficit rather than, being able to hit the ground running when January 1 gets here. So, on that note, I am going to nerd out just a little bit. I should have invited Ben in here just to read this quote, but
you have to clip it for him. He'll love it.
Yeah. So this is from the Silmarillion. The men's book group is going through this right now, but the first time I read it years ago, this was one of my favorite characters. His name's Tulkas. And this is at the very beginning, like the inception of Middle Earth. So you have Melkor, who's the predecessor of Sauron in the Lord of the Rings, but he basically is the Satan figure. Spoiler alert, I guess, for those who haven't read the Silmarillion, like it's been around since either longer than any of us have been alive, but it's been around for a while. Sorry for the spoilers. This is a quote taken from the Silmarillion about Tulkas, and he's one of the warriors that fights on the side of good. So for long, Melkor had the upper hand, but in the midst of the war, a spirit of great strength and hardihood came to the aid of the Valar, hearing in the far heaven that there was a battle in the little kingdom, and Arda was filled with the sound of his laughter. So came Tulkas the strong, whose anger passes like a mighty wind, scattering cloud and darkness before it. And Melkor fled before his wrath and his laughter, and forsook Arda. And there was peace for a long time, and Tulkas remained and became one of the Valar of the kingdom of Arda. And so this is one of those, like if we could capture kind of the ethos of a character, I think this is one that you would want to emulate this time of year. And he's drawn to the battle. That's the reason he shows up. He actually shows up to aid the other Valar because they're losing. But he shows up because there's a fight going on. But when he arrives, the first thing that everyone hears is him laughing. And it made me think of later on, you see this with the Rohirrim, the fact that they sing while they slew. And they're fighting and singing at the same time. But Tulkas comes laughing. And the whole time he's fighting, he has this like loud, boisterous laugh as he crushes the enemy. And I think that's something that's worth trying to emulate, like being able to fight and laugh at the same time, fight and sing, fight and grin at the same time. And that's the kind of warfare that we're wanting to wage in this particular season.
Yeah, it's one thing, like the warfare keeps coming, the battles happen, there are enemies. But if you have that spirit, you don't get pulled all the way down to the black pill. You don't get pulled down, all the way down. Like you can maintain the things positively that you're trying to accomplish without your head being in the clouds of like, this isn't real, or this isn't a problem, or this isn't serious. Like it can be both. You can hold both at the same time. You can walk and chew gum with that kind of attitude. It reminds me of like a King Loon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Like that's probably when I think of like this season. Like you have the Father Christmas character and you have Aslan, but I think King Loon is also another character that presents he's serious. He's taken seriously. He has gravitas, but he's also full of joy and mirth, and that's something to try to emulate.
Laughs louder over a scantier meal than anyone in the land. Once again, Horse and His Boy supremacy continues. It's the best one. It's not even a debate.
It's not even close.
Not even close. So in this sort of fight and like general feeling of mirth and joy, being aggressively joyful in this season, like I wanted to talk about why the pursuit of excellence, even in areas like this, are so important. Like, why is it important to try to be excellent about gift giving and, you know, how you present yourself at Christmas parties and like how you conduct yourself with your children in this time of year, like with your wife? Why is that so important, you know, especially in this time?
Yeah. But besides it being like you're open to attack, especially this all the time, but especially this time of year, I think we've said it before, but like how you do something, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So I think there is that habit, and there is a specific time and season where you have a certain period. It's not going to last forever. You can be especially pour yourself into the season and do it really well. So I think it's kind of one of those things. Maybe it would be like a game or a race or some kind of like culminating event, you know, for the rest of the year, where how you do that is how you're going to start off your new year. Like how you come out of the Christmas season is how you're going to start off the next year. And so I think there is an aspect where you have an opportunity to basically like practice how you play. And if you just walk into it and you kind of like let things happen to you, I mean, that's probably how the rest of life is going, is you're reactionary and you let things happen to you rather than thinking through it, picking out what principles do I want to really emphasize this time of year? How old are my kids? Where are we at in life? How do we do that really well? There could be some thought that goes into it, and you can execute that. And then, you know, I think that'll set you up well for the coming months. One
of the other things that I did want to bring up, Brian and Lexi talked about this on a Bright Hearth episode the other day. But she talked about the fact that as a parent, she was particularly talking to mothers, but I think as a parent, you're building your children's childhood right now, and you're the architect of that. I just thought that was a great point, because I think so often we just kind of assume, you know, as long as we keep them away from these bad things, then this great adventure of life will just come find them, and they'll find themselves, and they'll look within, and they'll, you know, whatever thing that we've been fed from Disney, or, you know, the forces of evil behind all the screens that we have bombarding us all the time. But you actually have to be intentional about all of these things. Like, you have to be the one that is introducing your children to whatever experiences they're going to encounter.
Yeah, it's not enough to keep them away from the wicked and terrible things they shouldn't touch at all. You have to positively establish what are the good things that they should be pursuing.
Exactly. And I think this is also like, these are the formative years where these are the childhood Christmases, just like we talked about in the family traditions episode a little while ago, that they're going to remember. These are the things that are kind of going to be imprinted. And so what do you want to be there in their mind's eye when they recall these memories and these times? And you're sort of the one with the paintbrush right now. You get to paint that mural. You get to, you know, do your best by God's grace to try to instill good things and them remember these childhood memories as a point of joy and laughter and mirth, and something that they constantly look forward to getting back to and like sharing with their children. Yep. And so I think that's just really, really important. And especially as fathers, being hope dealers, being the ones that walk in and bring laughter and joy, making sure that we are being extremely intentional with that.
Yeah. I think it's a great time of the year to, like, a lot of times we have a couple days where we're at home, we're not going to work, you know, great times to be intentional and spend time with the kids and with the families doing stuff together. And that can be like projects like, hey, the toilet's running on. Let's, you know, get your son and we're going to fix the flapper on the toilet, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to do that in the next 10 days. But like board games or just things that you can do together that maybe you don't have all the time in the world to do it the rest of the time of year. It's nice and thinking through those things, planning them out a little bit, because it's really easy to not have anything and then just say, oh, let's watch another Christmas movie.
Right.
Which is fine. You can watch a Christmas movie, but thinking through what kind of things do I want to look back and say, oh yeah, we did a bunch of this stuff together and it was great.
Yeah. I mean, just last night we had our psalm sing in the park. And so the same group that normally joins at the church on Tuesdays and, has a potluck and then sings psalms, we go to the public Christmas park downtown and here in Ogden and join all up at one of the sidewalks and stand in a big, semicircle and hand out sheet music and, stand and sing 3 songs together. And it's one of those chances for the stuff that we're doing to get to interact with the outside world, which I think is cool. And for our kids to get to see that and know that it's part of the war we're waging, right? Is by doing this, by singing good songs together. But it's also sort of has that magical Christmas feel to it. Everything's all lit up. There are these little Christmas demonstration houses everywhere. There's competitions to see which one's going to win. And so we went and did that. We had dinner first and hung out, and then we went up there and sang psalms, and then we took the kids and walked around the Christmas village. And all of those little things I think are really important to building their memories, but also sort of attaching us to this place, which I think is really important. It's something that, if there's a common struggle that a lot of people have here at Refuge, it's like they're transplants and they come from other places, and, the vibe's just different.
Yeah, and you don't have what you had at the last place, so you got to figure out what do we have here and what's gonna last. What do we want to pass down? What do we want our kids to remember? You kind of have to be a little bit intentional with figuring that out. The other thing we did while you guys were gone was I
see how it is. I see.
You would have been. I'm sure you would have been there if you were there. But the first time this group has done it since COVID. But they Symphony in Brigham played Handel's Messiah. We had three people from our church playing in the orchestra, violins, and one of them's in my classroom.
Yeah,
and it was great. It was obviously it's music you're familiar with, different songs. Really, obviously the Hallelujah at the end is one that everyone has heard, and there's a couple others that are kind of more popular. But they just worked through it. It probably took an hour and a half, but it was just another cool thing. You're like, this could be a tradition where every, December we go listen to Handel's Messiah. And the coolest thing for me, I've heard the music, heard the Chase is going to be mad if I call it a symphony. It's a, whatever it is. It's a piece. But yeah, I've heard it, but then we were there with the music, following along with the words. And the chorus, they didn't have a chorus, they had soloists, but the chorus was the audience.
Oh,
and there
nice.
were all these people there who knew the words and could sing really well. And it got to the point where I had to ask, like, are they piping in the chorus over the speakers, or is this just the people in the crowd singing? And they were just singing. But they sounded really good. But it was cool to see the words, and obviously it's all scripture, it's all the prophecy, and but that was a cool experience for me. I've never been to that before, but I think we would go back every year.
Yeah, I would love to take the family next year. It's inevitable if one of us leaves here, you're just committing to missing a week's worth of stuff, which is actually a month's worth of stuff, almost every single time.
Just
so
way too much FOMO.
Yeah, it's just part of the
makes
deal.
it hard to leave.
It is always something where you miss a lot, but it's good. It was good to go back to Texas and see all the family and everything. So that's another practical example of like fully embracing this Christmas celebration thing. There's been a lot of get-togethers, a lot of dinners. Obviously, you mentioned Christmas parties. We've got one tonight for NCP. We've got the Christmas party coming up for the whole church later this week. Excited for both of those. They'll have their own distinct flavor, but they're a lot of fun. And then there's also always a ton of gift giving, which I've never seen a place that does that the way that this place does that. Yeah.
I don't know if I have either. Personally, I think there's an aspect of it where you really like people and you want to give them gifts, and you're like genuinely friends, and they're not just like obligatory, like, well, you work for me, so here's your fruit basket, here's your Jelly of the Month club. Or you're like, you're my boss, so I better give you a car, something, but like genuinely people really like each other and want, and like know each other well enough to know what a good gift for that person would be. So I think that's probably it more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really
and then we have guys like Ben who put together intricate rules for White Elephant and Secret Santa and like, just like really detailed.
Thankfully, my wife is the kind of person that goes through and reads all of that so that she can figure out how to manipulate and bend them.
Yeah.
But I literally haven't even opened that document.
I mean, either way, you either try to skirt the line or you just say, I didn't read it and I'm going to do it.
Exactly. No, that'll be fun too. That's coming up here starting next week. So pumped for that. I think that kind of covers it. Hopefully that's a good exhortation for you guys kind of going into the next day and a half. I know this will come out on Christmas Eve. So you guys will be in the throes of all of this. I'm sure what will actually happen is no one will listen to this until well after Christmas. And then it'll completely be like useless, but
pin it for next year.
Yeah. But anyways, I hope that's useful. We're going to jump into the Brutal American. As you can see, Ethan has his Christmas letter that they sent out with their Christmas card.
They haven't gone out yet. You and Ben are the only ones who've gotten.
Oh, we were the only ones that have gotten these.
Yeah. I just wrote it this week, finished it, printed it. So they haven't even gone out yet.
Awesome. So,
But if like family and friends who get my Christmas cards, they will have received it by
the time the episode comes out. Yeah. Nobody's getting slided. Don't worry. We're going to read those in the Brutal American. I've got mine as well. So we're going to read those and just kind of talk about how the year went and what we're looking forward to in 2026. So if you guys want to hang out and check that out, by all means, come join us. We'll be over on the Hardman Patreon. Thank you to all of our patrons that have been supporting the show. We really appreciate it. That's grown a ton, and we really, really appreciate you guys' support. You guys make the show possible. So shout out to you guys and the sponsors of the show. Really appreciate it.
The only other thing was I asked for another AMA.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to do that early January. So if you've got anything for AMA, shoot them to me or Tate, all the different places, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, Buzzsprout, apparently. I don't know. I
think that's the text response.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think if you go to like Apple Podcasts and you say text us, that's where it shows up.
Okay.
So we just discovered that folder this week.
So if you guys have sent stuff there for the past 4 months, we apologize. We just discovered how to view all of those.
We'll look at those and catch up on.
And not because someone showed us, but because Ethan literally just figured it out.
So AMA coming up. We got some cool stuff planned for January, beginning of the year. So looking forward to this season.
Last thing I'm going to mention, thankfully Evan just sent this to me. 2026 NCP conference going down June 11th through the 14th here in Ogden, Utah. The War for Normal, which is what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be opening things with the second ever NCP games, which I'm pretty stoked about. Should be a lot of fun. Maybe a golf tournament. Who knows?
Yeah, I think we're going to do a golf tournament Thursday, right? Games and golf
on Thursday to open things up, and then talks on Friday and Saturday. Yep. Should be a whole lot of fun.
Church Sunday, picnic Sunday.
Yeah. The picnic is arguably the best part.
Yeah, it's great.
The picnic is a blast. But tickets for that are as cheap as they're ever going to be right now. So you can go get that at newchristianpress.com. Go check it out. Conference in 2026. This will be the fourth one.
Yeah.
Man.
Are we announcing speakers yet?
I don't even know.
No.
I don't even know who the speakers are. Does Evan know who the speakers are? He might. He's just not telling us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's crazy to me that this is going to be the fourth year of this. I remember coming to the very first one here at the church and it being discussed several times that we were over fire, like hazard capacity in the building. But it was a blast. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get to see you guys there. And anything else?
Nope. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. See you in January.
Yeah. As always, stay frosty, fight the good fight, act like men.